Right, so today I'm going to demo an IPL on the LUVO Lucent. So I have Stephanie here. She's had a few IPLs in the past. It's been a couple of months since she's had one. Stephanie's primary focus and goal is to not only go after vasculature, but also pigmentation. So I chose the LUVO Lucent for a few reasons. The LUVO Lucent has 7 different filters that we can choose from, so we can really hone in on our target chromophores. I'm going to layer this treatment. I'm going to start with a 585 nanometer filter, which is going to be primarily absorbed into hemoglobin, and then I'm going to layer it over the top with a 560 that also has absorption into pigment as well. So we're going to be hitting this with 2 wavelengths, which are going to have 2 different depths of penetration. And let's see, Stephanie, I'm just going to give you a quick consult and ask you a couple of questions about your skin and how it responds to sunlight.
Okay.
So if we were to go outside in August without any sunscreen on, how long would it take for you to burn?
About 20 minutes.
About 20 minutes, okay. And I'm looking at Stephanie's skin. I'm looking at the pigment in her skin. I'm looking at the pigment in her hair, pigment in her eyes. And so somebody, for me, that says that they burn within 20 minutes, you know, I think that's definitely going to fall around our skin type 2 area. Now, Stephanie's interesting because she looks a little darker than a skin type 2, but that's why it's so important to not just look at somebody and skin type them. You really want to ask them questions about their about their skin and how it responds to sunlight. So if she tells me 20 minutes, that's, you know, a little surprising to me as a tech by looking at her with brown eyes and darker hair. And so then I'm going to ask her, Stephanie, ever in the past or even as a child, have you ever burnt to the point of blistering or even just some substantial peeling?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, both?
Yes.
Okay, on the face or even on parts of the body?
Mainly on my shoulders. I've peeled on my face, but I've only ever blistered on my shoulders.
Okay, perfect. And then I also want to make sure that she's not using any sensitizing skincare products. So Stephanie, in your skincare regimen, are you using anything like an alpha hydroxy, beta hydroxy acid? You'll find oftentimes salicylic acid, glycolic acid.
Nope.
Nothing? Okay. And do you use any topical retinols or tretinoin?
I haven't in about 6 weeks.
Perfect. All right. So she's saying all the right things. And then lastly, I just want to make sure, you know, coming off of summertime, I think all of us in, you know, the United States, it's been hot everywhere, right? So we want to just make sure that she doesn't have any sun exposure to the point of tan lines. So that's what I'm really looking for. Again, we all have this inevitable sun exposure to and from the car. I'm looking for visible tan lines. So the reason why I put my client in a robe is because I'm going to manually, even though I'm not treating her neck or chest, I'm just going to look for tan lines while I'm touching her and while I'm asking her questions. So Stephanie, in the past few weeks, have you been outside to the point that you've had any tan lines?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right, so again, this time of year, this is what we want to be the most cautious with. And even if she had tan lines from, you know, 6 weeks ago from a trip to Cabo, if there were still visible tan lines, I would refrain from doing this treatment, and I would take the hour of dedicated treatment time that we have, and I would do something else for her that didn't have as much absorption into melanin as an IPL does. All right, so what I'm going to do with my client next is I'm going to lower her back. I've already got her nice and clean. I personally like to use eye shields, which are the little stickers. We can use metal goggles, but with the eye shields, I feel like I can get a little bit closer. If she had on false eyelash extensions, this probably is something that I wouldn't do. And then I'm going to apply a topical ultrasound gel. It's important that we use a clear ultrasound gel and not an ultrasound gel that has the blue tint or blue hue to it, because blue is a highly reflective color, and I want all of this light energy to go into my target chromophores and none of it to be reflected. So I'm going to apply this to about half of the area with the tongue depressor, and I like to use about 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters of gel. And then I'm going to tell my client what sensation I'm expecting from her. So Stephanie, you've had IPLs before. You know that they definitely have a snap of heat. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being as hot as if you were to touch your forehead with a curling iron, I want this sensation to be maybe around a 3 to a 4 with no lingering heat, okay? You're gonna have a lingering tingle, but I think it's important that we differentiate what a tingle and what heat is. So as you know, if you were to hit your forehead with a curling iron for a good 10 seconds, you're going, dang, that was really hot, right? You're fanning yourself off. So 3 to 4 residual tingle. She is going to be a bit more sensitive in this medial cheek area, especially because that's where she has more of that redness. Okay, so I may turn it down when I move to thinner areas, maybe up on the forehead, but I'm going to just see how her skin reacts. I'm going to do a couple of test spots. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes before I move to the adjacent area. And what I'm looking for is a bit of redness, a bit of perifollicular edema, and if she had substantial pigmentation, I would be looking for the darkening of those pigmented lesions, but she really doesn't. So I'm going to really be relying on her conveying her sensation to me. And then lastly, I pulled out these little stickers because she has a few moles on her face that she wants to keep. And oftentimes your clients will feel the same way. So it's very important to ask your clients, handing them a mirror, is there any moles on the face that you would like to keep? Okay, so she has 2 of them. And I've already taken my before pictures. And it's the one under the eye, correct? Mm-hmm. So I could also use a white eyeliner. I could also go around it, but this way, if I put a little sticker on it, I don't have to think about it anymore. Okay, and where was your other one, this little guy here? Mm-hmm. Okay, if your client has any sort of vellus hair or if they have any dark hair on there, remember that this is a pigment-seeking device, so it is going to have absorption to anything that is pigmented. You would be doing your client the best service if you removed that vellus hair with either a dermaplane before or even just a razor. So remember that IPLs can also do hair removal. This machine has 2 wavelengths or 2 filters, a 700 nanometer and a 755 nanometer that is for hair removal. But this is a pigment-seeking device, so any lower wavelength that I use is going to have even more absorption into melanin. So if I were to hit her eyebrow, we would get hair removal. So if I wanted to purposely do hair removal on maybe the cheek area or the upper lip area, it would work the best if I shaved prior. All right, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay, and so we're going to get up as close as possible on our Instagram feed. However, all of these will be on our YouTube channel and will be much closer up. So if you want to see a better visual, head to our YouTube page in about an hour. All right, so I'm going to lower you down. So with this device, I have the option to go in with a single pulse, a double pulse, a triple pulse, or what they have called a toning mode. So I'm actually going to use toning mode for Stefani. So this is a unique technology to LUVO. So instead of delivering all of our energy, and again, 1, 2, or 3 pulses, we're going to take our programmed energy, which is 10 joules, and I'm going to divide that 10 joules into 10 sub-pulses. The total cumulative time of delivering 10 joules and 10 sub-pulses is actually going to be over 10 milliseconds. Okay, and this all happens so fast that you barely even hear it or see it. But what it's going to do is it makes it less intense to the tissue. So the reason I chose this is because I am going to be doing multiple passes with different wavelengths. So I want to go in a bit more conservatively with this patient. So we're going to be delivering 10 joules, but divided over 10 subpulses. Total cumulative time of delivering this energy is going to be 10 milliseconds. All right, I'm going to put these little stickers over your eyes. So when I'm putting these stickers on, I want to get as close to her lash line as possible, and then I'm going to scoop those lashes back. Okay, I'm going to turn your head to the side here. And because our client's vision is blocked, and because this device has some, a heat sensation to it, I'm always letting them know where I am. So before I touch her, I might just say, I'm just applying some cold gel, or just a little touch here. You could even just touch them on their shoulder before you zap them. But if you notice that they're jumping every time you touch them, you could be a bit more verbal of where you're trying to go. So when I do an IPL, very similar to like if I'm doing a chemical peel, you can either visually or with a white pen or eyeliner. I like to turn the face into a square. So I'm going to include the jawline and a bit below. I use this vertical line here at the ear. Okay, so you could either go and stack horizontally this way. You could go in vertically. Really doesn't matter as long as you are covering the whole area. I personally start here and work my way up, and I do that same exact thing every single time. All right, I'm gonna just apply some cold gel here, very cold. And remember that this gel is gonna spread out with our light guide. So it's not an art project. You don't need to be taking 10 minutes to apply the gel. It's very quick. Any hair that's in the line of fire will have absorption. So I use my ultrasound gel to kind of hold hair back that I don't want to target. And if I notice that my client has a decent amount of vellus hair on the face, I will tell them that they might smell a little bit of burnt hair, so they're not thinking to themselves, what is she doing to me? All right, I'm gonna just verify that my settings are what I want them to be. So I've got 10 joules divided into 10 subpulses with a total pulse duration of 10. Perfect, so I'm gonna hit start here. Now, my tip is also cool. So this is a sapphire contact cooling. So I can even use this for pain control for my client. So I can just very gently rub this around the face just to cool everything off. Okay, I'm gonna put my glasses on. Okay, so this is like a little game of Tetris. I want to have basically 0% overlap, and I just want to stack these guys right on top of each other, making sure that my light guide is nice and straight and that I'm not coming in at an angle. And I'm going to tell her before I go, all right, Steph, on the count of 3, pulse. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to tell her that I'm just touching her, and what I'm doing is I'm removing the cold gel because I really want to see what's happening under there. I'm going to lift up my glasses, and I'm going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of that did you feel? 0. You really just felt cold, the cold tip? Okay, and then I don't assume that you feel anything now? So 0, felt like I was just touching you with something cold? Okay, so based off of what she's saying, that tells me that I can definitely go up in power, right? We want her to feel more than a 0. So I'm gonna go up to 12. And notice that I went up by 12, so it took my pulse duration and it extended it. So that's a great safety benefit to this device. It's saying, look, if you want to put more power in, I'm going to slow you down just a little bit. Not all IPLs will do that. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just feel that a little bit more? Okay. Maybe at like a 2 or a 3?
Yeah, probably like a 2.
Okay. So she said that was just a 2 out of 10. So I'm just gonna watch that. Again, I'm looking for some redness, maybe a little bit of follicle swell. I think the most important thing with IPL is just taking your time with your test pulses. It's not gonna be an immediate tissue response. It can take up to 5 minutes. So if you're really wanting to push the envelope and do something like I'm doing with layering these wavelengths, you really want to make sure that you're getting the tissue response that you're looking for. Any tingle in that area anymore, or
no?
Nothing? Okay. Got a little bit of a brown spot here that I'm looking at to just see if it does anything. And remember that the wavelength that I'm using now, the 585, this is absorbed into hemoglobin, right? So it's absorbed into redness. She's not as red out here as she is medially. So I need to remember that she might not feel it as much out here, but as I march more medial, she's definitely going to feel it more. So before I determine to just keep going up in power, I need to remember that my target absorption has not been truly hit yet. I'm going to do just a drop more gel. Okay, so for that reason, so it put me into standby. Again, another safety feature on it. For that reason, that this tissue out here is not as vascular as the medial face, I'm gonna do some pulses right under the eye here and see if she's still feeling a 2. All right, I am gonna go right under your eye here. 1, 2, 3. One more. Is that a bit more than a 2?
Yep.
I thought so.
Yeah, I'm probably like at a 3, 3.5, 4.
Okay. Yeah. Anything lingering?
No, not
just
really.
Tingle?
Yep.
Okay. So a 1 to a 2 versus a 3.5 to a 4. You know, from my end, I could even see her just give a little bit of a twitch there. This area is not comfortable, as I would expect, but good thing that I went over and checked here before I just kept going up in power. Okay, so I'm gonna go nice and slow. I wanna make sure that I'm getting right in the corner of the nose. I'm gonna just go ahead and knock out this medial cheek. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Perfect, half of the upper lip, 1, 2, 3. Good. 1, 2, 3. Good. And when treating vasculature, you want to make sure that you're not pushing too hard. If you push, you're going to blanch the skin and you're going to get rid of your target. So we want to make sure that when we're treating red, that we're floating in the gel and that we're not pushing. Okay, so I use the corner of the nose and the corner of the lip as kind of my natural markings. So I always know that I'm going to line it up from here, from the corner of the nose, straight down. There we go. Tuck your lip. You okay? And I am reusing a little bit of my gel, and that's just because my tip is so incredibly cold. I'm not worried about heating my gel up. There we go. 2 more. Great job. So another thing I love about this device is the crystal is very large. I can cover a substantial amount of area without having to pulse multiple times. So I'm able to get that whole, I got that whole right side of her cheek with just 3 rows. Okay, now I can look over on this side, and this is where I would expect to see pigmented lesions, darkening, and whatnot. But she just really doesn't have a whole lot of brown, so I'm not going to see anything super exciting. Okay, so I'm just measuring it out. I know that I stopped at the corner of her nose, so I'm going to move over a full spot size. Here we go. I'm going to turn you just a drop. There we go. All right, how you feeling?
Good. The side was a little more sensitive, but it's just because it's my driving side.
Okay. How much more sensitive?
Not too much more. I could just, like over here where it felt like absolutely nothing, I could just feel it maybe at like a 1 or a 2.
Okay.
But again, that side gets more sun exposure.
So like I said, sometimes I'll go down on the forehead. I don't really feel any compelling reason to go down on her forehead. If I were, I would generally go down by 1 jewel. There we go. You okay up here?
Mm-hmm.
Little hair in the line of fire there. Last one. Okay. How you feeling?
Good.
Okay, and on the nose, you can generally go up a jewel. The tissue on the nose is usually a little bit tougher. Are you still at a 2, 3-ish?
Yeah.
I know that texture for Steph is important for her, that we target that. Now, although IPL is, you know, really known for and used for pigment, it does have some absorption into water. This particular device is about 400 to 980 nanometers. So we know that that is going to have a little bit of absorption into water. So it does help with just the appearance of pores. We also have other attachments that we can make this light guide just a little bit smaller. I don't think I need to do that on her. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go up in power, and that also had, it changed my pulse duration from 13 to 14. Okay, 1, 2, 3. You okay?
Yep, just bright light.
Awesome. All right, so our first pass is done. I don't need to fully clean her up because I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna just reapply the gel. I'm just gonna take just some of the residual off, just give her a breather. What are you feeling now?
I feel fine.
Do you feel anything? Tingle?
Like right under, like right by my nose, right under my eye. It just feels like I can feel a very small amount of like warmth, but that's it.
All right, so I've put the machine in standby. I am going to change my filter, so I'm going to go from a 585 that is primarily absorbed into hemoglobin. So remember that as the wavelength increases, absorption into melanin decreases. So when doing IPLs, you want to start with the deeper wavelengths first and then work your way more superficially. But it's important to remember that as you go more superficially, your absorption into melanin increases. So my 560 filter is going to be more superficial in its depth of penetration, but it's going to have more absorption into melanin. So in essence, 560, the one I'm using now, is more aggressive because it has a more superficial depth of penetration and more absorption into water, or I mean into pigment, I'm sorry. So our first one was deeper, target was more vasculature. This one is going to be more superficial. more absorbed into melanin, but also absorbed into hemoglobin as well. All right, so by looking, so what's cool about this machine is you can just plug in the patient's skin type and it will give you some default settings, but I think it's always important to also look at your parameters, and it will give you an idea of not only a starting point, but an ending point as well. So my choice with her, I'm not going to use the pulsing mode anymore. So my choice is to take somewhere between 12 to 20 joules and deliver that in either a single pulse, a double pulse, or a triple pulse. So remember, if I have my machine programmed to, let's say, 20 joules, and I have it at a double pulse, it's not going to give 20 joules 2 times. Okay, it's going to take 20 joules and it's going to divide it into 2 sub-pulses. So the benefit of a triple pulse or a double pulse is that we're not giving all of that energy at one time. We're breaking it apart in either 2 or 3 sub-pulses. And what that does is it gives the pigment in the skin a chance to cool down. Okay, so if you're finding that your client might be more on the skin type 3 or skin type 4, it's always going to be safer to do a double pulse or a triple pulse. For Stephanie, I want to go ahead and deliver this in 1 pulse. So with 1 pulse, this says I can take 12 to 14 joules and I can deliver it in 10 milliseconds. So I'm going to start with 12. And I'm going to take this to 10 milliseconds. So what that's doing is it's delivering 12 joules in 10 milliseconds. Come over here. Okay, and I can go all the way up according to my parameters to 14, but we always want to start off at the lower end. Okay, so reminding my patient of the sensation. This might have a bit more of a snap to it because before I was delivering in 10 sub-pulses. This is going to be all the energy at one time. All right, I'm going to turn your head to the side here. Cold gel. All right, Steph, so same thing on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you at about a 3, maybe a 4 on a bit more sensitive areas, okay? Okay. Just touching you with my cold tip. One, two, three. And one more. Where would you rate that?
Probably a 2. I feel the snap a little more than the last one.
Okay, a little more intense.
But it doesn't linger.
Does it tingle?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna turn you up, just drop it. Two more, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Feel that a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna do the last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Tingly?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing crazy?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so I ended up at 14 joules, delivering that in 10 milliseconds, and I'm gonna just keep going. Here we go. Let me know if I need to slow down, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Two more. Okay. Great job. You feeling that quite a bit?
Just that one.
Right under the eye?
Mm-hmm. But it was probably right where you want me at a 4.
Okay. I'm going to turn you a little bit. You knew that was coming. Oh, Joe.
Right.
So this is one of the faster IPLs that I've used. This speed is comparable to a BBL. Results comparable to a BBL or an M22. This is my absolute favorite IPL right now. It's fast, it's effective, it has a great cooling system, and like I said, we've got 7 filters that we can play with, and the hair removal is fantastic. So for myself being, you know, a Fitz 1, light hair, I have had phenomenal results with the 700 nanometer wavelength versus what I've traditionally treated with being a 755 laser. So like I said before, the lower the wavelength, the more absorbed into melanin that it is. So for me, it's been extremely successful to get the residual light kind of golden hair that I have left. Almost done. You're doing great. And so because of the, not only the size, the large crystal, but just the pure speed in this IPL, where I can literally hold this device down, and I'm going single pulse, but I could hold this down and get around 1 to 2 hertz, so 1 to 2 pulses per second. So where traditionally if I were doing an IPL, I'd book out 30 minutes with this device, and probably this device only, I'd book out 15 minutes for an IPL treatment.
Hold on a second.
You're done.
You gotta get my nose.
Are they falling off?
No, it's just this. I think the scatter of that one, it just, right.
Okay, just 3 more pulses, okay?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4. 3. You're good. Go. Good. All right. So I'm going to first remove her gel with the tongue depressor, then I'll use a cool cloth to remove the residual. What I don't want to do, especially if I'm going after pigment, I don't want to use something too cold because that will stop the thermal process, right? And all that hard work that I tried to do. So I might use just something kind of lukewarm rather than actually cold. And then I'm going to put something soothing on her skin. You could put a little bit of aloe. You could do some post-laser balm. And then, of course, a sunscreen with zinc or titanium dioxide. And then I'm just going to tell my client what to expect. And I'm going to tell her her post-care while I'm cleaning her up and not while I'm doing her laser treatment, because she's really not going to absorb much of what I'm saying at that point. So over the next few days, your redness, you should just get less red over these next few days, but your pigment is going to do something a little bit different. So you may notice that your freckles get darker over the next couple of days. They're going to come up to the surface, and after about 5 to 8 days, they actually crust off. So they're going to look like little dirt specks or little coffee grinds. Okay, so it's really important that you don't pick at these. I want you to refrain from your mechanical exfoliants, so like your facial scrubs, until all your pigment has flaked off. I don't want you to start your retinol again until your pigment has fallen off. And you may notice some sunspots that you didn't notice previously. So these were just pigmented lesions that were deeper into the skin that we targeted and brought up to the surface. You are more than welcome to wear makeup tomorrow, okay? You may notice, especially because I did 2 passes, you might get a little bit of swelling to the face. That's just a histamine response, nothing to be alarmed about, okay? If you have any questions, of course, you can always give me a call. You're gonna be a little spicy maybe for the next hour, but after that it should be, it should just continuously get better. I'm gonna go ahead and clean you up after this, so you really shouldn't even need to wash your face tonight. And then for the rest of the day and tomorrow, if you are still a little bit red, I just want you to avoid excess heat in the skin. So no hot yoga, no working out. I don't want you to go for a walk tonight. If you need to go outside and walk the dog, you can totally do that. Just don't expose the area to direct sun. Maybe just put a hat on. Okay, do you have any questions for me?
Nope.
All right, so let's do this again in 4 weeks, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Just turn